Project number 1. This video is part 2 of what do your word signs look like? In other words, all word signs are not created equal. So my kitty's helping me cut out a background, 12 inches by 12 inches on this black foam core board. I also have this decor edge trim that I got at Habitat for Humanity, Dollar Tree house shape, an old Dollar Tree rub-on transfer that I thought was okay, and then some random pieces of lavender that I got from different places. So to start off, I'm going to try and get this trim out. Looks like it's been in here a while because it was pretty sticky. But that made me happy because I knew I wasn't going to have to worry about sticking to the foam core board. I am going to paint the foam core board white, but I wanted to get the trim on there first just to make sure I had good adhesion. So it's quite simple to cut out. I just measured the 12 inches and then a little bit overhang. Peel off the backing and just smooth it down onto the foam core board. And I did the same with all 4 pieces. I did make sure that the top and bottom went over top of the sides just to create balance. And then I used my painter's tape to cover the trim. And now I'm painting the whole thing white, but I'm dabbing the edges first so that I don't push up paint underneath the tape. And then I just try and paint away from the tape afterwards. So you'll notice there's some black flowers on the house shape. The rub-on transfer did not work. It was stuck to the packaging. And so plan B. I managed to sand off some of the words, but I left the little florals there because I didn't want to sand, or didn't want to have to paint it. So plan B is the Chocateur. I actually went through all my stencils and Chocateur before I decided on this one. Reveal. And then I used another Chocateur transfer for a little bit of flourish on top. And that's why this project is titled Love and Lavender. The lavender is coming in a minute. And I did the same for the other side. There's going to be a bow there, so it's kind of going to be covered up, but I just wanted to put something there. And now I'm doing a dry fit. I had set the background aside to dry off, and it's good to go. So I got my tumbling tower blocks, and I'm using a combination of wood glue and hot glue. And I'm putting them on their edge, the small edge. And then I'm leaving the top of the house open because that's where I'm going to put in the lavender. And I just cut a thin piece of lavender and hot glued it above where I put the tumbling tower blocks. And once I was happy with the placement, I went ahead and worked on the bow, awareness shape, scrunch it up, wrap some twine around it, and I also wrapped a piece of ribbon over the twine to make the middle a little bit more appealing. I trimmed them, dovetailed them, and then I poked my lavender in. And I tried to do the same on each side. And then, so I had a top and 2 sides, and that's sort of how I thought when I was placing the flowers in. Now I'm just going to go ahead and trim up the edges of the trim. And then I noticed it was a little loose afterwards, so just if you're using anything like that, just make sure after you cut it to size that you give it a good squeeze. All right, I chose not to distress the background. What do you think? a better look at the final reveal. Project number 2. Family get together. I love the idea of all the little house shapes coming together to create a family. That's from Dollar Tree, and then the silver tray with the black on back is also from Dollar Tree. This is pretty easy, and you can do just a small little bit and have a cool piece of decor, but I'm going to go a little bit extra on it. It's still super easy. I'm just going to sand the back to get some better adhesion with the glue. I'm going to use super glue that I purchased at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to put it all along the back on the bottom there, because I know that's where the little houses will be touching. And then I'm doing a dry fit, and I thought the house shapes were going to have to be pushed together, but they actually need just a small amount of space to fill the space. So they need just a little bit of space in between each letter, and then they will completely, perfectly fill the space on the back. So I did first and last, and then I worked on the in-betweens. I love how my hot glue goes all the way up to the top, even though that's not going to be touching the tray, which I realize as I'm putting it down. I come in with a little rag and get some of the super glue that has found its way into the in-between places. And also on the letter, I just want it to look as clean as possible. Now you could stop right here. This is a sleek, modern little wall hanging, but I'm not usually sleek and modern. So I chose some nautical rope for a hanging cord, and my little drill here, I drilled some holes to push the rope through. And don't be like me and do it 3 different times with 3 different size drill bits. Just start with the big one. I kind of had to use the tip of my scissors to push it through. You can tie a knot or just a big old glob of glue, whatever works for you. Okay, I decided it needed more, or needed extra, as all us creators say. So I'm just grabbing some of that shiny green boxwood greenery and the dogwood florals, and I'm wrapping them with some fluoro wire. And I sort of wrap it over a space of like a half inch or so. I'm making the awareness shape with my buffalo check ribbon, and wrapping it, tying it in the back. Then I'm putting a piece of ribbon around where I wrap the floral wire, and that's just to give the bow something to hold on to. And then at the last minute, I grabbed this ribbon that had the words on it, because I thought how appropriate. It's a words video, and it's a words ribbon. And I thought it matched pretty cool too. Okay, so finishing up, I get the bow nicely attached there, and come in with a little bit extra hot glue there, just to be sure, because you know I'm weird with glue. Okay, making sure those pieces are on there good. I'm not going to push them off when I put on the bow. And my camera conked out, so I'll give you a better look at the final review. Project number 3. Where's here? So for this project, we're going to use this Dollar Tree circular sign, Love Lives Here, some chicken wire, a wood frame that I got from the thrift store for $2, and some scrap florals. To start things off, I'm going to wipe down the frame. Oh, I have to show you all the florals. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to wipe down the frame, and I found this stuff called Goo Off or Goo Gone or something. It was in the back of the cupboard, so I've been using it, and it does like a nice job. It's just kind of stinky. Then I'm using my jewelry trimmers. They're just like regular little trimmers, but smaller. And no trouble at all trimming the chicken wire to the size of the frame. Now I'm just coming in with some paint to change up the colors a little bit. So I put it to white on the outside, and then I freshened up the black on the inside. But that was way too bright, so I'm like, okay, I have a pink flower coming up, so I'm going to put a little pink in there. And it was like a dry brush pink, and then a dry brush of burnt umber on top of that. So you want to give it a wee bit of color and a wee bit of distress. And then when I was finished distressing, I just sanded it a little bit to soften it up, so it looks more like distress and less like brush strokes. I have the pink flower that we just talked about, and I wanted it as short as possible, but I trimmed it so short it fell apart. And I just watched another creator do the exact same thing, and I did it. So give a good old hunk of glue there and let it set up before I did anything. And like for a solid minute I didn't do anything. Now I'm tucking some eucalyptus leaves in underneath the pink flower there. Dollar Tree had some small eucalyptus leaves stapled in, but I'm just hot gluing some of mine that are a little bit larger, and then wrapping a new piece of burlap around where they already had a piece of burlap. And I'm going to balance off the leaves with one on the other side. I did not show stapling the chicken wire onto the frame because when the camera was on and I tried it, there were no staples in the stapler. So that got done off camera. Now to finish things up here, just grabbing my buffalo check ribbon and gluing it in the back, and I'm going to make it seem like it's hanging off a window by just gluing the ribbon on the back. And I like doing it that way rather than glue the actual sign, because then I don't have to worry about being super straight. So just going to trim that ribbon so it doesn't show through. And there we have it. And there's a good look, and I'll give you a better look in the final reveal. You can subscribe by clicking on my picture there, or have a look at my last video by clicking on that video. Thanks for watching. See you soon.